What kind of movement is 100,000 poets and musicians for change? Of course, you're going to see and hear many aspects of that today, broadcasting to you from the LA radio studio in San Pedro in the heart of the Los Angeles Harbor District. Our control room looks out over the water, and our hearts look out to embrace our brothers and sisters around the world. I wanted to share with you a message we got from our friend Maria in Wien, Austria. In that part of Europe, 14 different cultural organizations have come together under the banner of fugitive flags. This is the message. On September 26th, 100,000 Poets for Change are celebrating their annual day of action, which poets all over the world call for social and political change. On that day, we ask literature institutions and writers to fly a white flag. We want to take a stand for a different treatment of refugees, for respecting their human rights. What can you do? Fly a white flag, say made of napkins, bed linen, tablecloth, from your window or balcony. It should say, refugees welcome, and 100,000 poets for change. That message is signed by those 14 different groups from Austria, Slovenia, and the Czech Republic. That's the spirit that surrounds us as we gather today in the studio. We think that our friends in Europe are listening, so we send our greetings out to them and thank them for their courageous stand. And now, William Pilgrim and the All Grows Up.
Feet swinging, yeah, black feet swinging from a sycamore tree. Lonely little bird saying, look at me. All the pretty things keep me fed. Doesn't really matter when you're already dead. Bye bye blackbird, bye bye blackbird. Just breathe, ready and rolling, living in a moment, going one step further now. Ready and rolling, living in a moment, one step further now, yeah. Going one step further now, yeah. Going one step further now, yeah, 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 yeah. Woo-hoo. Cold, yeah, your symptom ain't your sickness. Cold winds blow, blood runs deep, led astray by us, leave you hungry, left you lonely, led astray, run amok, big white cape, big old truck. Don't leave it to the enemy to tell my story. Don't leave it to the enemy. Oh, bye bye blackbird, bye bye blackbird, yeah, yeah. Ready
All right, all right. You know, William Pilgrim and All Grows Up has always been these radio shows. I think this is the fourth year in a row we've done it. They're always the heart and soul of the show. We've done 100,000 Poets and Musicians for Change events at their beautiful studio in Orange, California. So it's great to have them back again. And
I can hear you.
Okay.
We're all good.
Okay, good. So we're talking to Phil Romero of that band. So Phil, I haven't seen you since last year's radio show. What have you and the band been doing in that past year?
You know, we've been playing music, traveling, and trying to get the message out there. The whole thing behind William Pilgrim is we're trying to use music to influence social discourse and obviously create political change. So that is what we have been doing, fighting the good fight, so to speak.
I'm sure. So you all are based in Orange County.
We are.
And Orange County has this stereotype attached to it of being this kind of wealthy enclave where nothing ever happens of any significance. What do you think?
You know, if you look for it, you are going to find it anywhere. And what we're trying to do is use our home base to change those stereotypes. And I think that's the message of 100,000 Poets for Change, is that the status quo is not sustainable. So whether that be in Orange County or halfway across the globe, we're trying to do what we can do to change hearts and minds and be a little bit more accepting so that we can have a more sustainable environment.
Mm-hmm. So the last time we spoke, I believe you had just returned, y'all had just returned from the big climate change march in New York City.
Yeah.
What is the outlook in your mind for building that movement even stronger, and how do artists fit into that?
You know, I wish I could sit there and point to one specific thing and say this is going to be the thing that's going to turn the tide. But I think that what we need to do is we need to look at the movement and the whole idea of change differently. Change, especially as it applies to the climate, is not something that we're going to realize in our lifetime. What we're doing right now is setting down the bedrock for future climate fighters and economic fighters to take what we've done and take it to the next level. Change is, you know, pitifully slow. And the march itself was a great demonstration of what people can do when we organize, gather together under a common cause. And that's what I think the main thrust of that climate march is. Most of the work as it pertains to climate change is not vocal. It's not on your internet. It's not on the TV. It's the countless hours that warriors are putting in every single week on a grassroots level to organize people so that we have the next climate change march. And it's that tireless work which is the most important work. Mm-hmm. I think that what we do is we look for heroes. We look for saviors. We look for government officials who are going to change things so that we can continue to sit on the couch and wait for this new change to happen. We have to be that change in our actions, in our attitude, in what we say and do on a daily basis. That's what change is. It's not something that dramatically happens, with a switch or overnight.
Well spoken. Do you see that the awareness of the seriousness of climate change is growing among people?
It is, but again, it's slow. And this is how I look at climate change. Climate change is just, one head of the snake. Black Lives Matter, another head of the snake. These are all related issues. And I think that what we need to come to terms with is that they're all dead ends by themselves. Mm. They're all ends to a means. And what we need to be able to do is unify these issues together under the banner of economic discrimination, because that is what is constantly driving all of these other issues. Black Lives Matter is not a black issue. Even though you may be, as a black man, be very, very passionate about that, it's an economic issue, and it is in many ways no different than the climate change issue. And so what we're trying to put forward is that these are all great organizations, they are great movements, but what we want to be able to do is link them. We want Black Lives Matter and climate change issues and poverty issues and police brutality issues, and to recognize that they are all coming from a system that oppresses people across the globe. And if we can unite, we have a lot more power than fighting these causes individually.
Yeah, would you agree that within, as you delineated. There's an overarching issue and then many expressions and manifestations underneath of it, that in each of them there is a lot of untapped creativity and artistic expression that we can bring to the if we can bring to the fore, of which 100,000 Poets is just one of countless examples of trying to do that, that we will perhaps can speed up the process as much as it can be speeded up.
I think that that is the only way, and this is why. Because if you and I have a political discussion, we're going to polarize ourselves. We already have a set of belief systems, and when we try to address issues on the front, through the front door, we separate into our individual camps and we end up talking at each other. What music and art has the ability to do is it has the ability to communicate messages through the side channel and open us up to ideas that we may not be open to through the front door. So music, art, and what 100,000 Poets for Change does is what I think it opens a whole new world to ideas that we're not getting exposed to through the normal channels. So I do think that art and the work that countless organizations are doing across the globe to put music in the hands of kids and to teach a new generation a different way of thinking, I think that is going to be our salvation in that regard.
Could I get a little more energy through the side channel? Another song, maybe?
Oh, I think we always have another song.
Thanks.
Don't get ahead in 1 second.
Scarecrow on a wooden cross, a blackbird in the barn, 400 acres that my family used to farm. I grew up like my daddy did while Grandpa cleared the land. When I was 5, I walked that fence while Grandpa held my hand. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. This land fed a nation, this land made me proud. And son, I'm just so sorry there's no legacy for you now, 'cause we got rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. The crops we grew last summer weren't enough to pay the loan. Couldn't buy the seed to plant that spring, and the farmer's bank foreclosed. I called my old friend Shipman up as they auctioned off my land. He said, John, it's just my job, and I hope you understand. Can't call it your job, hoss, sure don't make it right. But if you want for me to say, I'll pray your soul tonight. And Grandma's on the front porch, swing with a Bible in her hand. Sometimes I hear her singing, take me to the promised land. But you can take away a man's dignity, there'll be rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on crosses planted in the courthouse yard. That's 97 families who lost 97 farms. I think about my grandpa, my neighbors, and my name. Some nights I feel like dying, like a scarecrow in the rain. Rain on a scarecrow, blood on the plow. This land fed a nation, this land made me proud. And son, I'm just so sorry, there ain't jack shit for you now. But we got rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. That land fed a nation, this land that made me proud. And son, I'm just so sorry, there ain't jack shit for you now. We got rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Yeah, yeah, it's gone, so gone. Ain't got nothing, baby, nothing there. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow.
All right, William Pilgrim and the All Grows Up. Okay. All right. Our next performer is a very good friend of mine, Corey Cofer, goes by the name of Best Kept, as in Best Kept Secret. Here we go.
Hey. I feel like an old school song who can't go wrong. 12 inches wide. I feel like the pride of an athlete in defeat, resolved. This is my week, I feel like today. Brisk yet sunny, funny how things change. Karma is a ruthless game. I'm feeling at home in my home, grown man status. Look at this, it's me and my offspring. We walk trails and eat Rite Aid ice cream. Moving forward is our new theme, my new thing. I feel like a positive thought, allergic to reverse. This verse is how I feel right now. I'm feeling all right now, who would have guessed? Life tasks, more complex than filling a bubble. It's not subtle. Navigate the rubble and get up like a champ. Miguel Cotto in this mofo, I'm getting amped. Stand the weather like Mayweather, don't get hit. I still don't get it, but I'm still good. I keep it moving like my dad would. Could feel the aura. Soar a mile on the smile, use a towel for a cape. Had this style for a while, I write rhymes in shape, circular. I still want to be great, pushing boundaries all the time, still gotta create poems. Introduce myself, I used to be off the dome, and now I let it regulate. Fresh off the grill, watch the world wait. Fresh off the hill, been climbing since 8, rhyming since 9, hip-hop since forever, it's going just fine. Slum Village roots, Kendrick is the time. J Electronica, Eminem can still rhyme. These poems stay mine, no matter what. And if I die, don't cry, just look 'em up. Best kept.
Best Kept. Best Kept. All right, Best, tell us about the venue you've headed up for so long, Mike and Dim Lights.
So we created Mike and Dim Lights, which is about 45 minutes east of Los Angeles. I was a poet at the time, like I am right now, and I wanted to hit up open mics. And there was an open mic pretty much on every corner in Los Angeles, but when it came to places like Pomona and the Inland Empire, there were none. So we started up a Mike and Dim Lights 15 years ago, and October 1st, we'll actually be celebrating our 15th year of having an open mic for the Inland Empire, for Southern California, for the world.
Mm.
All right.
Mm. All right.
Thank you.
So tell us about your book, Up the Street Around the Corner.
Oh, so Up the Street Around the Corner is a memoir I created, and basically it's just snapshots of my experience as a child growing up in Stockton, California. Peace out to Stockton, California.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's a series of 10 vignettes. And like one of my favorite writers said, it's kind of like balling up like experiences in the bottle and being able to get my point across. So, and yeah, that's it. That's my only book, and hopefully through Dim Lights Publishing we can create a lot more. So,
All right. Yes, I read the book. It's quite something. Best kept. What is the power of the word?
I believe I feel like when you say something, it's out there, just in casual conversation. But when you do it in spoken word, it's the feeling, it's the moment you were in when you're expressing yourself, and the moment you're in when you're writing what you want to write. And I feel like it can impact so many things. It can impact the way you feel. It can impact the way you see things. It can impact the way people see things and receive things. And I believe that if you have an opportunity to do that, whether it be through spoken word or through song or through just preaching, I feel like the power of the word. I feel like word is bond. And when you hear the word, when you hear the term word is bond, that's kind of like how I apply it. It's bond. Like when you bring that word out, no matter how you bring it out, you're bonded to it, and that's how I feel. That's the power of the word, in my perspective.
Word is bond.
Yeah.
So what's next for Best Kept?
So best kept for me, I'm gonna continue being a father to my kids, and at the same time, artistically, I wanna do some theater. And just continue to write. I feel like I haven't been writing as much as I want to write. So trying to continue to write and continue to hone Mike and Dim Lights and continue to pretty much just provide that for the Inland Empire and beyond, and continue to teach. I'm a school teacher, so I continue to educate as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I need to write though, so. I feel like writing is something that I love to do, so I'm going to continue to write, and wherever that word takes me, that's where I'm going to go with it.
Okay, so speaking of writing and what's next, is there a poem in our future here? Another poem, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I got something for you. I want to do this because of the rising tuition cost. It's not about the smartest. It's who has the richest. They raise tuition annually, then weed out the rich lists. You mean Darnell can't afford school? His GPA is a 3.8. He has tools. Fools raise tuition to make pockets fat. Not every child of color want to rap. It's like white collar dissing. You're denying the electricians. Doctors and entrepreneurs, forget the hip-hop tour. College should be free, if you ask me. K through 16 with a break in between. Cash ruins everything, and in this case, dreams. Can't win for losing it seems. We're apart at the seams. I need a seamstress for my stress. Less is more, don't apply. They want more for less. Only guaranteed classes for the rich asses. An attempt to educate the masses. I thought we were past this. Things are still raw. There's been hella students left behind since Bush passed that law.
Okay.
Thank you.
Best Kept. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that, Lee. It's all good, baby.
My pleasure.
Peace out to JC. See money.
All right. Our next performer, our next guest is the Black Rose, a man who's had a long history in and out of the edges of the music industry and social activism in California. He's going to bless us with a song.
Lee, I resent that bit about me performing. This is not a performance. It's what I believe, you know? Anyway.
We'll see.
Little thing, it goes, no one is an island. No one stands alone. Each one needs the other, but each and everyone's dream is his own. No one is an island now. far out there in the blue. We all look to the one above. Our strength he doth renew. And when you plant seeds of friendship, let them never die. We see the people when they gather, and you hear the music when it starts. The songs they will be singing, they must forever ring in our hearts. We all need one another. Oh, and yes, we must defend. All of you are brothers and sisters too. Let all of you be friends. So no one is an island. No one stands alone. Each one needs the other, while each and everyone's dream, each and everyone's dream, each and everyone's dream should be his very, very own, his very, very own, their very, very own. That's all. That's all.
Thank you. Beautiful. So Rose, you're from Fresno, which people listening that are not from California, it's not anywhere near the ocean. It's in the middle of the state, called the Central Valley, the agricultural part of the state. What is the situation there?
Well, you know, Lee, Central California is considered the breadbasket pretty much of the world, definitely of the U.S. But yet you have so many people there hungry. You have people there without jobs. You have the small farmers. Many of them have gone under. It's a terrible situation due to that drought. And many of us believe it's a man-made drought, you know, that it benefits the almond growers, the pistachio growers, the people, the tomato farmers out on the western side of the valley. They seem to have enough water. But for the small farms and the people living in cities in the less fortunate areas, water rationing, constantly being reminded that, you know, you're going to have to help us through this situation. But yet, well, let's take Porterville, for example. Let's go to Porterville. Rumor has it, and I know it to be a fact, that there are people in some of the little outlying communities outside of Porterville that are actually collecting water in like rain barrels or 50-gallon drums. They have to ration things such as bathing. Your car, forget that. You're not going to wash your car. And they're being fined if they don't adhere to pretty much the rules and regulations. And when you think about what I said, they're going to be fined if they don't adhere to the rules, but yet they don't have any water anyway. And someone was talking about that possibly during the rainy season, they're going to make it questionable as to whether or not you can capture the rainwater and reuse it. That's just a part of what's going on up there in that valley in Central California, around Fresno and from Bakersfield north up to probably Modesto, and then out on the west side out there. It's horrible, man. You see the foreclosures you would not believe. Houses that are just sitting there desolate, going under, going to waste. It's a terrible situation.
So, you know, here we are in California, the Golden State, Hollywood, and that's what, you know, I think people's conception of art, music, culture in California is. So, but could you give us maybe a little different picture of creativity from the point of view of these small towns in the Central Valley, which, by the way, has as many people as L.A. or the Bay, but it's not really a part of the conversation or the media spotlight in our state?
Well, you take, in many of the small towns, I have found, or I've been made to pretty much become a to some degree, a believer. I didn't think that the talent was there because after having lived in LA for 25 years and other major cities, you think of Fresno and Central California as being a farm community, farm hicks, backwards. No, there's a consciousness up there. I would say is more akin or closer to what's really taking place, not just there but in this country. And you'll find young people up there that are poetry slams, open mics, and what have you. They're coming together in various communities up there. I was at one night before last. It was about 46 people right there in Fresno, and it's every other Friday night, 7 o'clock in Fresno, California. And I hooked up with them night before last. And I'm finding that there are other towns, especially up around Stockton. There's a couple, Brisbane, I think that's their last name, Brisbane, that they've been there for about 10 years trying to organize poets and writers and, to bring this classic, sort of a collective of similar minds together, people that are aware of the conditions that are plaguing our country. I read a good article, Lee, in a newspaper called the People's Tribune.
Okay.
And in there, it talks about, well, there's so many good articles, but they alluded to the fact that much of the problems that we see in the country today between the police and the citizenry, or the things that are going on in the political arena that's definitely not benefiting the American public, is due to people feeling that they've been shut out, and that there's a corporate thing in conjunction with, and the political structure in this country that's causing people to have to be resourceful. I picked up this publication and I found that there were articles in there by people like me, believe it or not, expressing their sentiments, their beliefs, their concerns, and what have you. And I feel that there is some hope.
Okay.
And with the right guidance and with the proper vehicle, I think there's hope for us.
Sounds like what you're describing as far as the culture in the Central Valley, that would be these small towns up there, which you kind of see all the off-ramps for, and you drive up to 99,
That's
right?
cool.
That we could build 100,000 poets and musicians for change right there, right up and down that valley. Would you say that's possible?
Yes, because, put it like this, we would be the only venue they have. They have no other venue. Radio and TV is so controlled and contrived, manipulated. It's not going to let them express anything that might run contrary to the standard line of the mainstream powers that be. And there's so many people up there with so much to say. Yes, I think that what you see here could do wonders up there, and I think it would be well received. Definitely.
Okay, well, let's get together after the show and talk about how we might do that.
Okay.
Once again, the Black Rose, thanks so much for your thoughts and your song. Okay, well, we have a very special guest next, Iris DeAnda, who's going to do some poetry and tell us about some things going on in a different part of town. Iris, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
It's good to be here. So we'll start with, this is not just poetry. This is not just poetry. It is visions pouring through us of collective conscious unity. These words flow through us, catching glimpses of a new world aglow, revolutionary. The love we speak is a reflection of the truth we seek in humanity. This is not just poetry. It is justice screaming through us in constant vowels and soliloquy. The musings on this page are distilling forth through us of rage transformed as poetry. The ideas we write come forth streaming, no wrong or right, only questions on being. This is not just poetry. It is life revealing itself through spoken word. This is the sound of urgency. There are those whose verse some would silence, so we grow louder and disperse, create freedom of speech treaties. The stitching of phrases as declarations of change, us only leaving traces, messages as visionaries. This is not just poetry. It is equality pleading through us in pain, requesting mercy. These odes emerge through us, hearts beating as we converge under skies so starry. The rhymes, it seems, count us into the daydreams of our journey. This is not just poetry. It is every moment of overlooked pieces, unknown and mystery. The ink begins spilling a memento of silence through us, a feeling becoming a story. The voices in our head come from living in black and white, then red, adding color to memory. This is not just poetry. It is death beckoning us through dark nights. This is the typist bleeding. There are those whose lyrics some would ban, so we grow louder and euphoric, never sorry, no apology. The poet's manifesto design of grasping fleeting thoughts, turning letters into lines, free, even if charged with just poetry.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there a book there? Do my eyes deceive me? Do you have a book out?
There's a book.
Tell us about the book.
Yeah, so Code Switch, Fires from Mi Corazon is my first book. It's all poetry. It's written in Spanglish.
Okay.
So that's the way I tend to speak. And there's a little bit of everything here. I divided it into 4 chapters. I call it my personal medicine wheel. So there's a rage section, a love section, a revolution, and an evolution section. And, you know, it touches on things from social justice issues to personal things. So, yeah.
All right. Well, but judging from that poem, it's a pretty good book.
Thank you.
So tell us about the Writers Underground.
So the Writers Underground is a literary event that I host. It's an open mic that happens every third Thursday of the month over in a little place called El Sereno, which is East LA or Northeast LA. We are at the Eastside Cafe. That's a community cultural space that's been there for about 12 years now. And we've been doing the Writers Underground for almost 2 years. We just had our 21st event this month, so.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What attracted you to 100,000 Poets and Musicians for Change?
So I think I jumped on probably the first year it was around because we're in year 5. Is that correct?
Yes.
I heard about it through social media, and I had been doing, poetry, starting back up in the poetry scene, and really felt compelled to host an event, create an event in my community. And so we hosted 100,000 Poets there, and we've done it ever since at the Eastside Cafe. It's a beautiful way to get a community to connect, for us to talk about the issues that we're facing, both locally and globally. And I think art and music are the best vehicles for change because, we all like music. We all like that connection or being able to express and feel something. So I think it's the perfect way to weave some beautiful change into our surroundings that way.
Yeah. Just before you, Black Rose was on the mic, and we were talking about the poetry scene and music scene and the little towns in the Central Valley, which is thriving. The valley is not thriving, but the scenes are, and that we need to expand 100,000 poets into those areas. Do you have any thoughts, like here we're in the kind of opposite in this huge city in Los Angeles? Any thoughts about how we might grow it bigger here?
Well, I always encourage people to really take it upon themselves to create something where they're at. So if you're in a small place, in a small town, and you're wanting to see things like 100,000 Poets take place, then you create it. Do it in your backyard. You know, you start. We have a friend out in the city of Bell who does an open mic in his garage. Alivio open mic, you probably have heard of it. And so, I mean, that really is the spirit of 100,000 Poets for Change, I think, is for you, no matter where you are, no matter the resources that you have, for you to utilize your voice and your space to make that change. So really, you could do it in your living room if you wanted.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
If you have the ganas, like we say.
Could we get another poem from you?
Sure.
All right.
So this poem is not in my book. I wrote it recently for the events in South Carolina, and it's called Mother Emanuel. Pray with me in whatever way you know how, whether you look up to the heavens or bow down to kiss the ground. We are in a crisis. The only way through this is to unite us. The pain of the slain in graves marked since the conception of this hateful nation. Mass tombs of race, so much blood on our hands we cover our face, civil war paint. The language of the dead, of those with unspoken songs in their last breath, of all who question authority's footsteps, of young boys who grow to be silenced. The language of ancestral memory, of night's air in dark alley, of ages of discontent, of our nation's lament. The language of racism, there is no color here, we are all blind and weep. The language of fear smeared across the fields of us, of broken wing and tainted promise, of nightmares in daylight, of covering up United States of us all a mess, of naked pain exploding on television sets, of hushed anger and whispered tears, of knowing you have heard it all before, a bruised rerun with nowhere to go, of lonely neighbors, of not enough talk when there is so much to say, the language of forgotten prayers, of deserted cities, of no jobs or too many jobs but never enough, of sounds flowing down Charleston's river, of ache standing by the roadside, of mirrors with no reflections, of ice pierced with bloodshot pens, of writing the already written over and over and over, until nothing is left and everyone hears the wretched song of America, the beautiful liar. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank
Iris
you,
D'Anda.
Lee.
Check out her book if you get a chance. Okay. I just want to take a moment to say thank you very much to Mike Stark and Thrasher here at the LA Radio Studio, keeping us all going, making it sound good, look good. Our next artist, guest performer, is Shy But Fly. Now, half of that's true. See if you can figure out which half.
Hi. He lay in bed at night in despair, torn between his two loves, not knowing which one to go to, well aware of the one he will choose. It was chosen for him from birth. Like always, mind over matters of the heart. He only calls for her when it fancies him to. She knows it, but still continues to be number two. The backup plan, often the muse. The flesh and blood, beautiful inspiration. Human form of the masterpieces he creates with his fingers and his brushes. Passion and blending colors. Yet not enough to fulfill his needs alone. Every moment spent together means time wasted yet enjoyed. Unable to focus on the reality of the present, here and now, for he sees what it could be. What he could be doing, what others must be. A creative soul damned to be misunderstood, while all she wanted was a quiet dinner alone. But he came quick, then left faster, half satisfied, out with his famous catchphrase, work must be done, for he must go, leaving her alone. Lonelier than she had been before he chose to bless her with his presence, the artist and his mistress, loving a man with half of a heart.
So that appears to be in a book. Tell us about the book.
Yes, that was a piece called The Artist's Mistress. This is a book I self-published called The Meaning of the Blues a couple years ago. And it has about 24 poems in it. And I sell it online on Amazon on my website, shybutfly.com. And I'm working on my next one. So.
Okay. So if you don't mind my asking, what is the meaning of the blues?
That's what the book is telling about. It's basically about all the things in my life from, well, that one was about a relationship, you know. It's about music and just everyday life.
Mm-hmm. So you do poetry, sing,
Yes.
you have a band, right? Am I
Yes.
right? So tell us about these things.
Well, I do poetry, that's the book, and I do a lot of live performances with percussion or music behind me, and I'll do spoken word. And I'm in a blues band called the Cold Shoulders now for about like 6 months. So we do shows around town, and we do all the old standard blues, and we do some original tunes. So it's pretty cool. I love it.
All right, have to check that out. Yeah. And you host some venues, right? Poetry, music, maybe. Could you tell us about that?
I host about 3 open mics. I'm a coordinator. I like to put together different events around town, Long Beach. I host one monthly at CALB, Cultural Alliance of Long Beach, called Expressions. And I host one every Saturday at Shades of Africa. And I just started a new one at a wine bar called Public Beer and Wine. It's monthly as well. To get all the dates and all the addresses and stuff, you could add me on Facebook or check out my website.
Okay. What about your career as a live painter?
Oh, you saw that? Okay. See, I took up painting because I get writer's block sometimes, or I feel like I'll push myself so much to like force a song or a poem out of myself. So I need to release my, tension. So I turned to painting. So I've been painting a lot for me lately, just like in the middle of the night. But a friend saw this and was like, come paint live. So I paint live while there's like a band playing, and I just feed off the energy. Wow. It's just another way of expressing yourself,
I like to see that. So you get around town a lot, I know.
I do.
And what do you think about the collective potential of LA artists to change the world?
I feel like it's happening. I really do feel like it's happening because everybody is doing a show. There's so many options every night, around Long Beach and OC, and I feel like I don't get to LA as much as I used to, but I feel like I know LA people are putting together shows and I get invites. I feel like even if it's a little show, it's a big show, like we're sending our message to people and they're listening. So I feel like it's happening. I feel like it's really happening.
All right. Well, we're certainly happy you got to this venue. Could we maybe get a little something more from you?
Sure. I'm going to do one from the book I'm working on now. I don't know how I ended up here again. Driven by the curiosity and the familiar. He treats me the way I treat other people, and I like to think it's karma or the universe sticking it to me. But his crazy matches my crazy, so we're 100 shades. He shows me another side of him as we lay, but Jekyll and hides it in the day. Pushes me away like I do everyone. Though he cares, I can't tell, even though non-verbally to a degree, yet drifting in opposition slowly. I feel calm when he holds me, and I trace my fingers down his back to hear him moan, and it turns me on when we're alone. It's as if his lips were meant to kiss mine, so instead of sleep we kill time, practicing the art of tongue wrestling. I'm falling, but I stop in midair. Afraid to take it too far, it's so hard because he makes me turn off all my guards. But I talk myself down from the brink and think because I know tomorrow we probably won't care as much as we do right now. We're too much the same, driven by music and the moment, constant need of change. So we ghost without saying goodbye, constant mind running with phases, shut everyone out in fear of letting someone completely in. Can we just have fun until it's not? Tuck our demons under the bed and get on top? For now at least, we're at peace, and an endless internal war. And for now at least, we're on the same team.
Thank you so much. So everybody check out Shy But Fly on Facebook, on the web, wherever.
Yes.
And thanks for coming through. Hope you'll hang out with us for a while.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Our next guest performer is my good friend Hank G. Now here's the thing. He's going to do a song. Got some very special backup singers.
Yes.
You try to guess who they are. If you recognize their voices, call the hotline, win a prize.
The prize is coupons to Vaughn's Supermarket. Expires in 30 minutes.
Get it. Don't sleep.
All right.
all around like 1960s, but this ain't no regular parade. Rubber bullets, so thank goodness what they used on you today. You won't be so lucky next time they roll through. And this could get real ugly, better watch yourself. How will we survive? Who told you you couldn't drive? And I was born to fly, yeah. So I'll be up in the sky. And fires all around Hollywood burning, and a storm is on the way. A tsunami and an army look just like the Triple K. And when they take your water, ain't nothing you can do. They got your information, better watch yourself. How will we survive? Who told you you couldn't try? And I was born to fly. So I'll be up in the sky. We gon' come out on top this time. And we gon' come out on top this time.
All right. All right, Hank G. I was kind of disappointed we didn't get any calls on the hotline to identify our mystery backup singers, who are Ernie Perez and Shy But Fly.
I think this was rigged. I think somebody wanted to keep that coupon for themselves.
You know, it's a jungle out there. Okay, so Hank, tell us, do you come from a musical family?
I do. I have two brothers that play really well. My dad plays. My grandmother plays. I like to share this. My grandma, she's I don't know how old she is. She's aged.
Pretty old.
She's aged enough to be a couple generations back. She's got a little bit of a shake in her hand. She can't sign a checkbook, and she's with it. But when she sits behind the piano, immediately her hands go just calm. And she can play for 6 hours straight.
Wow.
And then as soon as she gets off, it's like she has no control. It's an incredible thing.
Wow. How many different instruments do you play?
Proficiently, I would say 2.
Name them.
Bass and guitar. But I can get down on the drums and the oud. And what else? Zither, xylophone. That's about it.
Yeah, I remember
That's
that one
about
night
it.
in San Diego when you got down on the oud.
On the oud, yeah. We were getting down.
So tell us a little about Flight School. And I know the house band there, you were pretty much the founder and director of it for some time.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that open mic for several years, and I taken a hiatus, taken a sabbatical, maybe even a retirement, but they're still making music there every Tuesday. So every time I cruise by, it's a lot of fun.
Where's that at?
It's over in Culver City on Washington, in a little Ethiopian Eritrean restaurant called Industry Cafe and Jazz.
Okay.
Culver City, California.
Well, I hope you enjoy your retirement.
I do. The pension
I
hasn't
know you
kicked
got
in
a
yet.
golden parachute.
Yeah. Solid gold.
Solid gold. Thank you, Hank. First thing, we made a serious omission, which is our technical director on that last song was Shihan, holding it down and hitting it just at the right moment. That's why it made you feel so good. So our next guest artist is my friend Charles Williams, C. Will.
Yes,
and
sir.
he's gonna do a piece, and then we're gonna talk to him a little bit, and so then we'll see if we can twist his arm and get him to do another piece.
Young Duns. Innocence lost for the daughters and sons of Jah's creation who resort to guns to tame funds, claiming they're looking out for number one. These children are searching bottomless pits to find the lost souls, and kicks just do it is more than a slogan. But like Ghost said, run, cause war drums beat on the concrete. Savages out for raw meat to eat. Survival of the fittest, either compete to face a gruesome defeat. That's the code of the street. The heat is always on. Soldiers are heavily armed. Numerous casualties in these marginalized communities. Many lives are gone. Outline in chalk, bodies are drawn. Ain't no time to think upon the pawns that died right beside Ron. They say only the strong live long, but that's a disparate few. Most never make it to their prom. The only flowers baby girl will see was at a funeral, while little man gets thrown in the back of a police van, not giving a damn, watching his future pass him in the cruiser's rear view. Ever wonder what they're thinking? This is just an inkling of the madness they're going through. Their worldview, straight bananas, depicted as animals that escaped from the zoo. Guess who? Guess who? Seriously, chimps, baboons, doing what they're programmed to do. Neurotic psychotics without a clue, products of the projects. This is all that they knew. These are the babies that grew out of no hope and despair. Boop in the bottle and dirty diapers they wear. Mommy shooing hair on in her veins. Daddy disappeared to be found nowhere, cause his lifeless corpse is getting coarse from the cold air. The eyes filled with anger and fear. How can we ask them to care when they've been walking the green mile, being disrespected and defiled for years? They socialize with their peers by being institutionalized, growth impaired. Now they're strapped to electric chairs or receiving a lethal injection. Trust is like smoke and mirrors when they've been living in deception, going down a dead end with no signs of direction. That's why they build barrels of hate for protection. Correction, there is no connection. Not picking up a signal. Children of rejection, tattoo X's project this symbol like the Star of David. Ghetto youth are being raped and raided, discriminated against and segregated. To escape the reality, they spend their days faded, inebriated. Not even clothes can disclose their feelings of being naked. Most are intimidated since they're inundated with images that make them feel inferior and primitive, presented with limited options. Modern day slaves whose labor get others paid, reminiscent of picking cotton. Can't blame them the dream they've forgotten if they were never taught. The only future they're plotting is a future assault on themselves and others, living in a personal hell where no one cares or bothers. Sisters and brothers abandoned by close and distant relatives. Ain't nothing positive for these alienated predators. At birth already given consecutive life sentences. They're a pejorative for the negative consequences of the felonious offenses. How can they be progressive if they've been force-fed, systematic sedatives, society's menaces, children of the slums, the gutters? The cycle is repetitive. Young duns, everybody, until kingdom comes. Let's please pray for their penances.
Powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles.
Yes.
Tell us about Free Speech Thursdays.
All right, so
How did that get started? What is it?
Freedom of Speech Thursdays is an artistic collective which started on April 5th, 2012. And the story behind that was that I wanted to teach poetry in this cafe called Suburbica Torta. That's where it takes place. That's at 5625 Hollywood Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90028, right? So I asked the owner, and I was like, is it okay? Because I didn't want to get paid in somebody else's establishment, and I didn't want to cause any conflict. So when I asked her, she goes, oh, yeah, you could host an open mic. You could do a poetry open mic. And I was like, now in my head, I was like, well, I didn't ask you that. But I was like, most definitely, because that was something I was going to ask her eventually. And I figured, like, you know, spirit or universe was like, hey, you can kill two birds with one stone. Like, it's here, and we've been there for almost 4 years now. And that's how it got started. And the backdrop, too, also was that I wanted to be able to provide another space for artists in Los Angeles or wherever they come from to come out and perform, because what I noticed, you know, when I was going out performing and going to the open mics, a lot of the open mics were only in the first half of the week, let's say from Monday to Wednesday. And I really didn't know anything in LA specifically that was later during the week, you know? And I remember when the owner was like, oh, you could do it on Tuesday. I was like, you won't have anybody coming here on Tuesday. I mean, we got Flight School and we got the Poetry Lounge going on in that night. So, you know, you just have an empty cafe. So luckily, and, you know, just blessed that we're able to come to some terms, and we've been there every Thursday. So that's how Freedom of Speech Thursdays came about.
Well, you know, to be honest, I got to tell you that I came there after been going for maybe a year, and got on the mic and all that. It was a good night. I enjoyed it. A lot of good folks. And then maybe for a year or so, for whatever reason, for no reason, I didn't make it up there. And venues usually don't last too long, so I thought, well, I'll go check it out, but it's probably faded. Here's what actually happened. I got there on time, which is unusual for me and a venue. And they said, well, you can't get on the mic tonight. Why not? Well, can't you see the place was packed? The place was packed and the list was full, which, I had to drive away, so I wasn't too happy about that, but I was very happy, to see that the place was thriving. So I wanted to ask you, what do you see? What is the importance of free speech today? Is that just people, lawyer talk, or is there something else there?
No, man. The importance of this freedom of speech, regardless whether it's a venue, is the fact that you have a place where you can express yourself. And at that moment in time, when I did start freedom of speech, I was attending grad school for spiritual psychology, and what we do is we have something called a trio, all right, when you sit down. It's basically what the class is structured. So you have the neutral observer. What the neutral observer would be, that would be the audience that's there, all right? You have the client, which would be the person coming behind the mic, because a lot of times when we write, we're expressing our innermost feelings. Also, when we're getting up to the mic, we're dealing with anxiety, whatever energy that's happening in that point. The facilitator itself is the mic. All right. The mic is definitely holding the space. That is is your counselor, right? You're speaking to it. You're expressing whatever it's going on. So, and then beyond that, now you understand that there's a connection, because those people in the audience, whatever your story is your story uniquely. But in terms of feeling, a lot of people have felt that. So what I see afterwards, I'll see somebody come up to somebody and be like, yo, man, I was feeling what you were saying. I could resonate with that. And what comes after that is community, So you can go to a place where you won't be judged, right? Where you could just speak authentically, be yourself, and know that you'll be supported and that you'll be loved. So that within itself is freedom of speech. There's no pretentiousness. You've been there, like I said, you came, the first show, like I was telling this speaking about this last Thursday, it was me doing a poem every half hour on the hour, but I was happy because I had a space and I knew what could be cultivated from this space. And like you said, I want everybody to get on the list, but to see the list getting filled up like that, because like I said, I can reflect where we started and we know where you were when you came there and where we can continue to go, so there's no limits to where we can go. So
yeah, well, I can assure you that Charles has just said some pretty powerful, beautiful stuff, and maybe you're wondering, well, that sounds too good to be true. Is that really how it is? That's really how it is. So come on out. It's every Thursday, right? What's the address?
5625 Hollywood Boulevard.
What time do you need to be there to actually get on the mic now?
Side up is at 7:30. Okay, so now we also have a 5-comic limit as well too. So I just want to we support everybody, but we had to put a limit on the comics. You know what I'm saying? We had to put a limit on the comics.
I understand. What if you have a funny poem?
That's okay.
That's not comic?
This is poetry. Like poetry within itself is however you want to express it. But if you come up there trying to do a routine, and that goes outside the flow of poetry, then there's other places as well too. So, and I support those places.
Could we?
I'm gonna speak. Can I promote this real quick?
Course.
All right. So next week, Saturday and Sunday, I am producing this event called Capo Lock 24. It is primarily a retreat, capoeira, Angola intensive, because I'm a teacher, but we also are going to have workshops. So there's going to be yoga workshops, dancing workshops, music workshops, and in the evening time, we're going to have poetry, music, bands, DJs as well, too. And you could actually stay there. It's a slumber party. And all right. How many places can you go? You say party, and we could actually stay there. One of the organizers actually owns the gallery downtown. And that's at 1548 South Central Avenue, LACA 90021, Capo Lock 24. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and you can find me. I should be around.
Okay, great. Could we get another piece?
Yeah, I could do that. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's a hard place I'm in. Life's fast pace. Can I rewind that? Can I rewind? I'm going to rewind. All right. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's a hard place I'm in. Fear of my life going to waste, life past pace when stuck in a box facing daily competition. But the only viable option is to win. But the journey becomes burdensome when you only focus on the destination. Procrastination, hesitation, anxiety, and adrenaline making my head spin on this cycle that I am liable to sink before I swim. So, if all we are is just dust in the wind, then when am I going to blow away? My mind goes back and forth again and again. My ego just wants a front page expose. Can't expose my weakness. Don't mix words. Keep eyes on what I say. However, the lesson popular society teaches is that I need perfect bodily features, enough cash to buy islands with sandy beaches, having tea and crumpets with old stuck-up geezers, while partying at Ibiza's resorts with beautiful creatures, with maxed out MasterCards and Visas, while puffing on indica and sativas at my own leisure. Picture perfect. But is it worth it to sell my soul away? Is it worth it for my reality to short circuit? Mind games, tricks, quick fix, pick six, full court press, all I blitz on my psyche. Look in the mirror and see somebody that doesn't look like me but has the same reflection. Pain and deception, rites of passage, blows my mind like strong acid. Self-restriction's massive when all I want to be is free. Freedom from the old me, freedom from the purgatory, freedom from the old paradigms and old stories, freedom from old glory, freedom to live authentically, live healthy, change my visual consumption, mix humble into my kale salad and get to chomping. Feel the lifeblood pumping, 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 carving my future like a pumpkin, taking better care of self instead of being self-conscious and lacking self-esteem, which could lead to self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Finally tapped into my superconscious, full steam ahead, for the first time being honest, seeing the trees from the forest, 444 skin sheds, metamorphosis. Who needs metaphors? What's for when I've opened the door to my repressed emotions that suppress my Bruce Leroy glow, guarded by my status quo shadows. Now my light surpasses the globe, found strength in being vulnerable. So if love and fear are the only two emotions that are quantifiable, then I subtract fear and multiply love because it is indivisible. Now that the real me is visible, no more wasting time being miserable. The ego served a purpose, now its position is minimal. Now I have a visceral spirit that knows no limits and follow the Most High's principles until I reach Zion, the pinnacle.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Charles Williams,
100,000
Freedom of Speech
poets.
Thursday.
Yes. Come on out, y'all. One love.
Well, you know, once upon a time, James Brown was the hardest working man in show business. James, of course, has moved on. And the new hardest working man in show business, without a doubt, is our next guest artist, Matt Cedillo.
Here's a nation. Package complete. Police escort skinheads and hooded Klansmen to march hate down public streets. Well, those very same police, quotas to meet, cannon fire on black boys in hoodies and Mexican kids with shaved heads. They are killing our kids. Well, half the nation applauds in the homeland's defense because they think that a rich woman's purse has more value than a black or brown boy's life. Here's a nation, hellbent, 1%, genocide pipeline from underfunded schools to overcrowded prisons. They knew Gingrich, our kids, ain't fit for nothing but a life in and out of the system, stripped of innocence, guilt by birth certificate students, quotas before children, suspects before students, young girls, whores before victims. Here's a nation that eats its young. This is not a democracy. This is not a republic. This is an open-air prison. An industrial-scale plantation. Anything and everything you've ever gotten from this system has a mathematical assessment, a calculated equation set to the algorithm of the cost of doing business. Keep your hands moving, stomach consuming, mind functioning with the narrow confines of your job description. Blood-soaked country, forged in genocide, built on slavery by a den of thieves, posing as Messiah, the Constitution, Thomas Jefferson, Jefferson Davis, white Jesus, Western civilization, civilizing, mission accomplished, manifest destiny, American exceptionalism, peculiar institution, institutionalized racism, declaration to plantation, anthem to slave ship, the bicentennial centennial? You're back to the slave whip at the feet of Lady Liberty, the dirt poor, dead tired, whole child labored from Papa Field tenements of Ellis Island to Arizona's blood red coyote trails of traffic in brown flesh, brick by brick, grave by grave, inch by inch, slave by slave. Here is a nation, there are its chains. Keep you in place, watchtower, overseer, engine killer, union bust, McCarthyism, Patriot Act, acting in interest of national defense. Which of you would stand against it? Which hunt for what's blown? Who said that? Who did that? Which side are you on? Here is the firing squad. They killed Metacomet. They killed Tecumseh. They killed Marietta. They killed John Brown. They killed Nat Turner. They killed the Rosenbergs. They killed Sacco and Vanzetti, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. They killed Salazar. They killed Fred Hampton. They did kill in much the same fashion. Here are the blood-soaked fields to claim the life of Andy Lopez, Priscilla Flores, Susie Pena, Mike Brown, Latasha Harlins, Trayvon Martin. Half the nation applauded. Here is that nation. This is not a democracy. This is not a republic. This is the State of the Union. They are killing our children. We are at war, and this is a call for change.
Call for change. That's what we're here for today. Matt, the watchword of 100,000 Poets and Musicians for Change is peace and sustainability. What will it take to get a world that is based on peace and sustainability?
Well, I think one of the great, slogans to come out of the movement was no justice, no peace. So I don't see how we can have, a peaceful or sustainable world that's not one that's built on the fundamental principles of a just world, a world where people are not set against one another and people are not in constant survival mode and constant threat. Their survival is somewhat guaranteed, and is guaranteed, and that they're able to thrive. I mean, you can't thrive if you're constantly under the gun. And there's so many things in this world that are such deep injustices, but they have some pretty, generally speaking, some pretty common roots. And in order for us to have a just society, a peaceful society, we need to have a society that's organized fundamentally different. And right now, society is organized in a way in which more and more people can't eat, more and more people can't have a roof over their head, and more people are being gunned down for the color of their skin or the syllables in their last name, or being targeted for all kinds of things that divide us, and it creates further divisions within people's thinking. But it's actually material adjuncts to it. But there's a lot going on that is very unjust, and until we reorganize society as a whole, we're not going to have that just world, and we're not going to have that peaceful one either.
Thank you. I heard a rumor that you're working on a book. Is that true?
Yeah.
Could you tell us about it?
Well, I'm working on a book. Right now, I was kind of deciding, but it's really going to be a collection of essays, and more it seems to be it's going to be focused on a collection of essays, really kind of examining this question of the population, this big demographic shift that's going on right now. And I'm going to write a book, a collection of essays, really, I don't want to say centered on this whole Trump campaign, but, I want to ask these questions to why is this happening now? Why now? And why have these regional politics, which have been in America, deep in the American consciousness for a very long time, but primarily set in the Southwest, why are they going national? And it's my opinion that it's becoming a national question because the population is becoming national. They're building homes in Atlanta, Detroit, Indianapolis. Communities are rising up there, and with those communities is coming the politics of a backlash against them. So, which runs deep in America's core, and it's based on manifest destiny and a lot of other things. So, I want to actually address that and really arm people with an understanding as to why things are happening, not just be in opposition to them.
What can we do to increase the power and influence of artists over what goes on in politics and the economy in our communities?
Well, the influence of artists will spread if largely if they show up. I mean, like we really need as artists to insist upon our presence, and also insist that that we set the agenda, or that we as artists have a role within the setting of the agenda. We're not here to. No one in the world should wait upon anyone else to give them the right or opportunity to fight for for what really should be theirs already. We're all subject to this horrible, horrible, unjust system, and we all have a stake in seeing it being different. So you don't have to wait on permission for anyone to tell you to fight for your life. And as an artist, you don't have to wait for that either. So as an artist, we need to go in, we need to be vocal, and we need to advocate, for a world where art can be celebrated, and where we, right now, if you wanted to really just look at what the conditions are in the world, they have machines that can build other machines. They have satellites that can pick fruit. They have all kinds of things. So the world of sticking your hands in the dirt or being in a factory getting covered in molten steel, or that world is quickly leaving. So we should really actually live in a world where people are free to stare at the stars and come up with poetry, or actually figure out how the stars work, whatever they want to do. But the necessity of doing all kinds of backbreaking and stultifying labor is very much leaving the human race. I mean, like, we're really moving toward to a point where these things, in order to have things, aren't as necessary. So we should not fight against that. We should actually embrace it, but embrace it and come up with a political strategy or an economy that matches it. So if we have a whole situation of laborless production, then we need to have a situation of guaranteed distribution. If we have guaranteed distribution, then people can become artists and embrace the natural talents they have. However, whenever, and wherever, and really base a society that's not based on, exchange and like, oh, well, I'll give you so many hours of my life if you let me live. No, have a world of contribution where you contribute because it's in you and because it's a skill you have.
Okay, beautiful. So, Matt, what artistic plans do you have for the rest of this year?
Well, I got some shows lined up. I got Cal State Fullerton, Cal State LA. Donza. I'm working on locking things down with Algain. So I'm doing. I think right now actually I have 9 or 10 totally locked schools, but I'm still working for more. So if you're interested in booking me, my email is mattcedillo1981@gmail.com, and I'd love to come to your campus. So I'm mostly doing the college tour. My second book of poetry is going to be coming out pretty soon, and hopefully we set up some events, cultural centers for that. And overall, I'm just trying to keep the dream alive. Just trying to keep things going, and work towards that better day.
Yeah, earlier, when I call Matt the hardest working man in show business, I wasn't being, flippant or trying to be funny. I think it's true. And so, Matt, you're within Los Angeles, which is a big megapolis. You're more or less everywhere performing, and I know you travel around the country to a significant extent. So I just want to ask you, what do you see out there? I mean, is there reasons for hope in the shifting and the thinking and activity of people, or is Donald Trump going to just define what our country is?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of huge shift, and it's kind of funny, like the title of hardest working poet. I remember Mike the Poet. He was the hardest working poet. Then it was me, and then it really seemed like this guy Meister Gaiman might have been, and but we're all out there put in work and trying. There's a lot of people that work very, very hard, and I'm very honored when people say that about me. I see a lot of hope in the future. I see a lot of people coming together, and I see a lot of people fighting back and pushing back against this. I think we need to be careful when we think that the future generation is going to just going to be better, and it's going to liberate us, and it's going to do all kinds of things as the children of the future, and the future is whatever. I think that each generation it creates a group of people that don't like the status quo and want to fight against it, and it creates another group of people that somehow embrace some form of ideology, some kind of idea where they can kind of kick down at somebody else. And I think that these conditions are creating those people as well. But they're creating both, and we're creating people that want to come together and want to see a better world, and want to fight for something different. And the difference between this generation and the previous generations is that what we're fighting for is very different. What we're fighting for is a very, very the stakes are so much higher, because if the forces of reaction and the forces of people who want to hold on to whatever little nonsense they have win, then none of us can be left with anything. But if these forces of people that want to embrace each other and want to have a better world and want to raise their children, even want to have children. I mean, these attacks on Planned Parenthood, these attacks on this, attacks on that, are attack on our future, an attack on the future, even to be able to have children and be able to raise them. I mean, this attack on the minimum wage. I mean, who can raise a kid if they can't, support themselves? I mean, all these things are an attack on our future as a species. So those of us who see this and those of us who know that are growing in numbers. And when you go to the open mic scenes, you go to these things, you see some of the most beautiful vision of how we can live together and how we can be together and what that would look like. And that vision is beautiful, but that vision alone won't win the day. We need to put action to that vision, and we need to make sure that vision is the vision for the future that wins. And that's going to require a lot more production of it, and also a lot more distribution of it.
Thank you. Can we get another piece?
Sure. Let's see. Okay, so here's a poem. It's kind of interesting. I get to do these shows around the country, and people ask me questions like, they ask me these random questions like, who are your influences? How'd you get started? Can you give us an example of Latino experience? Pretty ridiculous question. So, I usually respond, like, Chale, when I was 8, I lost a tooth, and I put it on the pillow. In the morning, it was gone. Fuck you. That's my Latino experience. That said, here's a poem about growing up in El Sereno. I was born on the east side of Los Angeles, across the tracks from abandoned steel and industrial petrified forest. Across the steps, a giant green tarp protected customers and gossipers, our abuelitas, from rays of sun to bombs of birds. They spoke Spanish, sold mangoes, papayas, and cherries, my favorite. As a child, I could never quite make the connection between the broken and empty bottles across the steps and the broken and empty men poured out the rust factories from across the tracks. So my cousins and I would gather and throw rocks of dirt aimed directly for the head, and the men would yell back something like, "What do you kids know about life?" And we yelled back, "Take that, drunks!" That was messed up, but that's just how it was, growing up, where Valley climbs up and over to meet Soto. El Sereno. In the 1950s, my mother's father, technician by trade, by birth a prince among men, in a backwards kingdom that held him back, that treated him different for the radiance of his unapologetic brown skin, raised a family of 6 on a single income. There is hard-fought genius in me, older than my mother's womb. December 18th, 1981, after months of fear and absence, my father makes his return. She does not want to see you. My aunt moves back to hospital bed. You know what you did. There is a pain in me, older than my father's blood. As a child, I can never quite make the connection between his fingers around my throat and the sorrow in his chest, a suffering older than my father's bones. His father's whiskey, grandfather's short temper, long-lived legacy to time history does not care to remember, because beatings are not fit for scrapbooks, and genealogies of shame rarely make their way to the oral tradition of campfire. There is a burning in my heart that time cannot trace. Moved out from my father's suburbs treated me different. One day in the workforce, I told my boss, last night I met a woman. Beautiful and intelligent. Asked, we're at Boyle Heights. Where's that? The east side of Los Angeles. Asked, incredulous, you met an intelligent woman in East Los Angeles? I wanted to slap the cavalry from his smirk. Beat the manifest destiny out of his name badge, but needing a paycheck, I stood in the weakness of silence, the pain and anguish of generations long past alive, and sickened in my chest there is a shame attempted upon us, older than the tongues of bigots. Walked off job. Marched off lot, fist up for the cause, because in a world that has told us no, that has told us different, I've chosen yes. Yes, I am Chicano. Yes, Mexicano. Yes, indigenous. I have brown skin and bleed red. Yes, unafraid and unashamed. My passion, my potential, my intelligence. Yes, the fire in my chest. Look into my eyes. You could feel its strength. And yes, as a matter of fact, some of the most radiant, gifted, talented, beautiful, intelligent women I have ever met reside on the east side of Los Angeles, just across the steps from the streets where I was born. Yes, I am all of this and more. Yo soy la raza cósmica. I, like you, am made of stars. You, like me, so full of pain, or brimming with genius. Listen to no one. would make you feel different.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So our next guest artist, a young man I just met like 2 seconds ago. I'm so happy that I did. I've heard a lot about him. Emrith Road America.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Mutual.
Thank you for having me on. And I'll stretch one wing if you let me take off.
Please.
Cool. Coming out of darkness, so you better beware. On the haunted mansion, who can give 'em a scare? Forever choose the truth, always ready for the dare. Watch 'em step up to the microphone and rap a gift so rare. Take it from the top secret documents. I wonder if you know they label us aliens if we don't have no documents. Well then, I'm guessing so. I'm just the produce of an extraterrestrial. Old boys in the Senate passing laws to arrest and deport my soul. Well, catch me if you can. Dancing on my tippy toes, laugh at Uncle Sam. Him and all his Nazi jokes. Secluded in a creative state. Stranded in the planet of the ape. In a world with baboons that don't even know the shape. Go ahead, Galileo, speak your mind while they burn you at the stake. Scream words concerning King Kong and his hidden handshake. I'll be the first in line learning. Listening, whistling, roasting up my marshmallows, catapulting to these odd fellows who make a living out of dying children in the hospitals. They say money makes miracles, it also makes mummies, Egyptian and crash dummies. Yo, trash is my treasure, and no cash is my ruler. I have my own measure. I can take you inside a lunatic's mind, give you a flashlight to see what you find. And born to inhumanity, never call it mankind. For where I come from, there is no mankind. Step on me, son, I'm a waiting landmine. Coming out of darkness, so you better beware. On the haunted mansion, who can give 'em a scare? Forever choose the truth, always ready for the dare. Watch 'em step up to the microphone and rap a gift so rare.
Beautiful. Man, let me just say, you know, like, if you're out in the spoken word scene or the music scene or how the places that they, you know, overlap all over town for a long time, you start thinking, yeah, you know, I know pretty much all the dope artists in town, you know, but that's nonsense. And like I said, this morning I woke up, I had no idea who this guy was or what he did. And yet you come here, he hits the mic and his beautiful thing, kind of done in a unique way. My point being not just that he's good, as because you just heard him, you don't need me to tell you that. This shit is everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Let's go dig it up. Let's go knock on the door. Let's put the red carpet out. Let's bring everybody out. And then we will change the world. So, Emrith, so glad you're here.
Thank
now,
you. Happy to be
word
here.
on the street is that you
Oh.
spent a good bit of time traveling around town hitting open mics. Is
sure
that true?
did.
Can you deny it? You cannot deny it. What is that like? What do you think about that experience?
It's a beautiful experience, man. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to network. And especially here in Los Angeles, we have so much diversity that you never know who you might run into and the kind of feedback you get. You know, I just got to meet you because of that. Goes to show.
Thank you. What inspires you to write?
Everything. I mean, just from riding on the bus and seeing someone do something, you know, completely unexpected, just something that's from within, you know, struggles that you're dealing with, or, you know, just as a writer, anything could pretty much inspire you. It's just, you know, a mansion that's the whole purpose of that song too. It's like you own that haunted mansion and you see every room that's in it. You know it like anyone else, because like no one else, I'm sorry, because it's yours, you know. So nobody could scare you, nobody could startle you. You know, you know all the hidden caves, the secret corridors, and you know. So it's that's the artistic mind, I think. You know, anything could trigger that, you know, that impulse to create and express.
Indeed. How do you think that music and poetry and all forms of culture can help to change the world?
Man, whether you like to accept it or not, the artist has always been the closest you could ever get to God. Or whether you're an atheist, you know, if you don't believe in something like that, you can never deny that the artist has always been the ones that are been on the forefront in every aspect, as far as, you know, maturing the community and expanding, you know, talking about the Renaissance, all the way to, you know, from the beginning of time, the music, the rhythm. So it's always been in the forefront. But I want to really get into like the spiritual aspect of it. You know, we know in ancient times, as far as the pyramids, the ones that created things like this, these were artists. You know, these were creators. These were very creative people, and not just here in the Americas, but I'm talking about in every continent of the world. We see these, you know, these masons, these, you know, these musicians, these architecture kings, and poets, writers, you know, painters, you name it, engineers, architects. Everything is art. It just, art is another word for science, you know. So you could wrap around the atheist and the believer in art. So that's the power that we have, you know. That's the power of the artist.
Wow, that's deep. Thank you. Could you wrap us around another piece?
Sure thing, man. Sure thing. This is called City of Fallen Angels, because we are in Los Angeles after all, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
All right. And this is universal, so this is a... Qué triste vive mi gente en sus casas de cartón. Qué triste se oye la lluvia en los techos de cartón. Viene bajando el obrero, casi arrastrando sus pasos, cansados del sufrir. Mira que mucho sufrí, mira que mucho sufrí. How sad the sound of raindrops falling on cardboard rooftops. How sad are my people living underneath their cardboard ceiling. If I don't have a penny, what makes you think I have a dime? So don't ask me for $1. Seeing everything black and white, I've been blinded by the color. From the land of the sentinel, long before the man was ever in the embryo and couldn't say eureka, I'ma live by the mic so I can die by the speaker. My spirit, if you can hear it, is bigger than Big Colosso. Rapping it tight with a Spanish lasso. On one shoulder is Da Vinci, on the other is Picasso. At any restaurant, I'm having a renaissance. On my silver Plato, serve me the brain of Aristotle as I flip the page to the golden age of mestizos creole and the mulatto. This fly got the Will C's philosophies of Socrates under the palm trees, enjoying the calm breeze. Excuse me, please, if I cough and sneeze. Fake people give me allergies, and I admit a sick, sadistic, twisted point of view, but at least I don't act blind like I know some do. And living in poverty's beginning to bother me. I'm becoming a psycho. Stick 'em up, it's a robbery. Taking the watchtowers for scrap metal, I never been ashamed to recycle. My swordsmen keep it sharp in Huntington Park, stealing electricity from the nearest functioning light pole. In South Central streets, stay hot, the inhabitants ice cold. And all addresses are different people's palaces who work hard to safeguard their family's well-being, with palms beyond remedying with bloody blisters and calluses. And everyone lifts up their chalices for the village in East Los Angeles, where the city walls turn into canvases for the artisans to create the modern hieroglyphics. And real dealers never make the mistake to get into specifics. But oh boy, your boil and boil heights. Imagine a gargoyle afraid of extreme heights. It definitely doesn't happen, especially during different dark nights. And if I take you to the CONPTON, where the blossom was born in the midst of all the cactuses, home to musicians, poets, and revolutionary activists. From Palestine to Israel, In Mexico, we live in hell. Up in the States, we all know crooked cops, I can't lie, all making bullets fly. Now these conditions have made many rebels who try to carry on, but I just can't seem to let go. So I'm singing, take me back, sweet memories when I used to laugh.
Thank you. Now, let me break this down for you. Imrith, I-M-R-I-T-H, Road, R-O-D-E, America, 3 words. Check him out. You got a mic, get him on it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. That's beautiful.
All right. Very special treat. Ernie Perez and the message.
We seem to be building larger houses and larger buildings, but yet we have so much homelessness. We live in an era of communications, but still we can't find a way to communicate with our youth, to give them a vision, to encourage them to come up with a better vision of what can be. Where we at, where we at, where we at, what can be. Many promises have been given to all mankind. Forgotten people living in the streets. We're running out of time. We must reconnect with our compassion and give new life to humanity. Community is the highest form of life, and with it comes opportunity. First a dream, a vision, imagination, and with strong determination, we can make a change. 'Cause our dreams, our visions, our imaginations can't be wrong, Lord knows. What can be is here and now. No need for explanation, action is profound. What can be is here today. Put an end to all corruption and give it all away. Nothing is impossible if you feel it deep down in your soul. Doctors should be doctors, not worrying about your medical plan. No one should go hungry, no. There's way too much to go around. We gotta put an end to suffering, yeah. Love and respect to our fellow man. Dreams of vision with imagination and with strong determination, we can make a change. 'Cause our dreams, our visions, our imaginations can't be wrong. Oh, Lord, no. Oh, what can be is what we believe. Every soul is in this vision. It starts with you and me. Or what can be is for what I pray. If we're working on our future, we've got to start today. Yeah. Where we at? Where we at? I'll forgive, but I won't forget if you make me blue, yeah. And on your way, love your brother, man. So the good book says, yes it does. Make your decision, but you know I'm right, no matter what you say. Oh, yeah, yeah. Or what can be is what we believe. Every soul is in this vision. It starts with you and me. Or what can be is for what I pray. If we're working on our future, we got to start today, yeah.
Amen. Ernie Perez in the message. What can be? A perfect question to pose on this day of 100,000 poets and musicians for change. So now we're going to get the chance to talk to the band you've been listening to. First up, Carvel Holloway on trumpet. So Carvel, you're the head of music education at Davis Middle School in Compton. In 1988, NWA put Compton on the map with Fuck the Police. Today, NWA and Compton are bigger than ever, with Dre's new album, the NWA Movie, and NWA's first album is back in the top 5 of the charts. And of course, Compton's Kendrick Lamar is the most popular hip-hop artist in the world. You work and live in Compton. Why does Compton still ring such a chord around the world?
Well, the situations that are prevalent everywhere are just really strong in Compton, first of all. And a group that can come out of that situation and express it the way NWA did and speak for so many and to so many about those situations, just they reverberate around. I think the police situation is one thing, and the expression that the expression that comes from the situation that we're put in is one thing, but it's tough because I see the kids that I see every day have that anger and that aggression, but I don't. It's certainly there, and I see it, but I don't experience it in the same way. We make music in our classroom, and we work through so many things in such a, it's a very emotional and tough deal, but everything is always moving forward from the perspective of what we're doing. My students are great kids. They're troubled and all of that, but there's so little of that actually that of the focus of what our classroom is like. It's hard to put the two together because it's certainly there, but man, when we're working in a classroom, or when I'm working with or talking to the kids that I talk to, there's not that aggression, man. There's just there's music, man, and that song "What Can Be" that was just performed. It's like, yeah, there's this homelessness, there's all these situations, but the song really is focused on the other side of it, what actually can be, as opposed to, the tough situation. So it's interesting that you say that, because I certainly feel fuck the police, but at the same time, so much of the other side of it is also being expressed in not separate, but like in a song like "What Can Be."
Okay. Thanks, Carvel. Next up is Matt Porpora. Is that how you say it? Close enough, I think is what he's indicating. The guitar player. So, man, I just wanted to ask you. I've had I've known you now a couple years. I've seen you collaborate so effortlessly with a lot of other different types of musicians. What is the importance of collaboration to an artist?
I think it's really nice to get into other people's headspaces, where it's not necessarily a place where your head always is.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn a lot from working with other people. So if I can work with people like Ernie, who's has such a soulful vibe to him, and then go play with people that play like old time country music, and then go play with people that play maybe West African music, it's really valuable in learning so many different lessons from so many different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it makes a more eclectic, more diverse music, and I feel like it makes a more and collected person in the end.
Beautiful. Thanks. Okay, now we're going to just, in case you're wondering, this is also on video, so some people are wondering, what about the other people? Aren't you going to interview them? But those who have been keeping score at home know we've already interviewed. Shiva Fly was playing cajon, and Hank G, who was earlier on guitar, and this time was on bass. Ernie Perez. What can be that? You were telling me, we got this new version of it, and it's really great. Not that you're always accurate in these assessments, so I wasn't quite prepared for that. Tell me a little of the history of that song and its various versions.
Well, originally, it was written for a vision that was going to be a movie originally, called What Can Be. And, the vibe about What Can Be is that I think when I sat down and I was just, blessed with this vision, that's why I talk about, our dreams, our visions with imagination. It's the determination that's going to see it through. Because like everybody else, I get caught up in, in doubtful times of doubt. And, those times of doubt, they can come in like 3 separate phases. You can have intellectual doubt, right? And the intellectual doubt is because you're just overloaded with the media and telling you how things should be, how everything's fly, everything's great, and then they don't want to show you what the real life is happening, and so if you think that you're up on everything and you're getting the wrong information, you think it's you might get on the wrong lane of the highway, so to speak. You know what I mean? But the second phase would be a spiritual doubt. Sometimes you just get kind of beat down because you want to take the high road and you want to be optimistic and you want to come from a place of love, and it's a challenge. It's a definite challenge. No doubt. And with all those things that happens, and we just get caught up, man. And I just wanted to know from the heart, where could I touch on this? What's the positive things can we pull? And I think when we perform the song, you can just feel the vibe, the energy, and just right now, it's a total different version of the song, and we just everybody fell into place. You know what I mean? Matt's playing some guitar parts that I thought was really just awesome, and then we were here, and then Shy, we were going over, and Shy said, "Hey, you guys want a cajon on that?" And we were like, "What? You got a cajon? Go on, go bring it." So she went and got the cajon. Henry texted me a couple days ago, because he's been up north, and he said, "Hey man, when you guys get together, can you just send me, burn something on your phone and send me, text it to me." So he texted it to him. He just fell in today, but that's all what it's about. And I think if we just kind of stay on that positive flow of what can be with our vision, and not, not shortchange ourselves, man, But
Beautiful. So, I just want to ask one thing. How do you think that we can get more artists from the various faith communities in America involved in 100,000 Poets and Musicians for Change?
That's a big question, man. Oh, that's deep. That's a big question, man. We are so divided. Come Sunday, it's like there's some serious division going down, man, on Sundays. Everybody's locked into their churches and their beliefs, and we get caught up in the isms, and I think we just got to get back to I drive with the Holy Spirit, and I just try to roll with that and not put too much on figuring out what's best for you and why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? And it's people are just going to be touched, man, in a certain way. I really believe that, and it's going to come from that. There's really nothing we can do. I think when everybody gets the call to step to the plate, they're going to step to the plate, and just like now, people are stepping to the plate in various forms, whether it's poetry, making clips, on YouTube, making actual feature film, whatever the case may be, man. Writers, it's all coming. Everybody's getting the call, and I think we're all going to get it. I don't think there's a formula for that, man. Calling people to it,
Okay. Well, when I thank you. When I introduced the group as Ernie Perez in the message, perhaps Y'all were wondering, well, what is the message? Now you know. Thank you so much.
Right on.
All right. Well, it's I can't say it's been a long day because that implies it's tedious and a burden. It's been a great day, but we have been here for a while. And now coming to the end of the road, and of course, we saved the best for last. So we're now up to Alicia Wise, and she's going to bless us with some words.
Two of my siblings' last name is Satterfield. The youngest last name is Wilkerson. My older brother and I share the last name Wise. Collectively, we are brown soil, harvesting names from spirits that enslaved us. In school, when our teachers called off the roster, the combination of first and last sound like djembe, maracas, salsa, halusi, silk, and cymbals. But when you got to a name like mine, it sound like half the music was missing. I've thought about exchanging Wise with something closer to my heritage, but I keep thinking to myself, I'm a poet. It sounds cool. And I grew up in a city where African is amongst the top 5 insults from school bullies, so the thought of reclaiming your stature is comical or frightening. Even if you are speaking in our tongue, speaking African to a kid where I'm from is not like speaking in our tongues. Our tongues were possessed by ghosts which have been crowned holy. They are saluted inside of a Baptist church. The pastor says, "Come as you are," and most folk who know who they are stay at home. The stripping away of our names was a clever attempt to strip away our deities. That's why I am in favor of being called a god. It is the closest name that has ever felt like home. Now forgive me if you find this blasphemous, but one of the reasons why I am memorizing the 99 names of Allah is so I could communicate with myself in 99 additional ways. A resurgence through my mouth, a pilgrimage backwards to when we were sun-stretching cacti, before we were told that our sharp spines were a threat. What happens to a cactus that is stripped from his name and made to believe that he is simply a weed? He will behave as a weed does. He will forget about the fluidity in his stomach, the water beneath his skin. He will respond when they call him empty, boy, news, table talk, Mr. Obama, the staff, the help, too loud. He will not apologize for being loud. It is part of his defiance, her dance, his goon, her savage. The definition of savage, not domesticated, cultivated, wild. We do not belong here. Yet here is where we are. And there are so many syllables missing. If you find them, attach them back to our second halves. Do not allow this country to take us whole. If it stumbles upon your prestige, tell it to begin again. We are a purposeful tangle of tongue and cheek. Do not respond when it acknowledges half the lesson. Respond when it fully acknowledges that we are here.
That was worth waiting for.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So, Alicia, I saw on Facebook that you're from Camden, New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So 100,000 poets and musicians for change is actually pretty strong in Camden and across the river in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
A lot of hard times in that area.
Yeah.
Why does that produce artists with something to say?
Why does Camden and Philly?
Camden and Philly,
Oh, gosh. Because we've lived through so much. How can you not have constant stories to tell and constant things to express and get off your chest, you know? Actually, I didn't know about many arts in Camden growing up. So I went to Philly. I mean, I did know a few things. There was a few open mics that welcomed me in Camden. So shout out to those and thank you so much. But I wanted more. So I went to Philly and it was just booming with arts. Philly has an enormous art scene, especially poetry scene. And it had more of a poetry scene back then. And I was like, I want this. I want to express myself. So, yeah.
Okay. So tell us about your work at Get Lit.
Oh, Get Lit. I have the jacket on right now. Get Lit, I am the co-coach for their youth slam team. often. I teach. Last year and the year before that, I helped the head teacher, one of the head teachers, Matthew Cuban, teach a workshop on Saturdays. But mostly I am their assistant coach, and once in a while I go on trips with them, with the kids. We just came back from D.C. where 2 of our students performed at the Library of Congress.
Wow.
And it was pretty awesome. I'm like, oh yeah, and couldn't take the credit for their awesome work. They did phenomenal, and one of our students came in second place. They had a poetry slam and had amazing people listening to them and their words. And so Get Lit, I'm like a mentor, and but mostly their slam co-coach.
Okay. How does Get Lit combine, I would say, poetry and social activism?
Oh man, because that's one of the things we look for. We're all about talking about those things that are going to spark change, sharing those stories, and including that in our work. Get Lit is not just about performing those poems and sounding good. We're about what are you doing to make a change in your work. Not all students come to us as activists or, feeling like they know how they're able to change, but we are looking that they're at least willing to know that their words can spark something. We actually have auditions that we were prepping for today during practice, auditions to be part of the Get Lit group. And one of the things we were asking for the mock auditions was, what are you doing with your poetry? What do you want to do with your poetry? How can you see it helping others and making a change? So, yeah, we do a lot of things. We've been heavily involved with a lot of movements and events such as trafficking, human trafficking, and poverty events, all types of stuff. Get Lit is making a big difference. So, yeah, I could go on and on and on about that. You see how excited I just got, right?
Sure did. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we'd be excited if you would do another piece.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here I go. Things I tell myself about my skin. I like it this way. Remember that time I questioned why God molded me out of tar and sky? Me neither. Remember that time I met that girl who thought bleach would lighten all the burdens off her back? Me too. We too often educated by fools. A fool will say, your skin does not make you a god. Well, my belief in it certainly does. My black is a boastful believer. It is all these workshops to all these children about all this self-love, even when I tumble out feeling all this helpless. Like the best way to teach a dark child how to love their self is to be a walking example of a dark woman who loves herself. I am still walking. My feet have not tired today. Some boys call you chocolate. Some boys think you cake they can drool over then devour. Some boys don't think at all. See you some back door, some exotic pond they can dip in only when it's warm enough. They always want you warm enough. Like a black woman don't got enough cause to get cold sometime. Think the darker you are, the more you growl, the more you suck. The darker you are, the more you know how to spread those hips. Things I tell myself about my hips. If I keep on dancing like this in the mirror every day, I swear my mama they're going to eventually balloon on their own. You've been skinny for a long time. Some say real black women's supposed to be more equipped, need to prove she got something he may want to hold on to. I grew up in a city where all the guys whistled at all the girls who ain't look like little girls no more. So I started walking like a woman on purpose. He chased me down an alley with a glass bottle all because I said no. So I stopped walking like a woman on purpose. I bought you some waist beads today. You are worthy of gifts. You are worthy of her hips large enough to swallow your own. You are worthy of his working hands gripping onto your curves. You are allowed to call them curves. You are allowed to call them what you want to. See your body the way you want to. Tell them that if this here ain't black and woman enough, well, my black and woman enough body just don't want you. Then roll your eyes. After all, these eyes got reasons.
These eyes have grown weary of avoiding an image that's just trying to find its light in a world trying to block it. Bitter people don't like your good fruit. They'll call you names until you catch them. Have you thinking you are half of the whole that you are, like I ain't been ripe for a long time. Like I ain't worthy to be touched with the lights on. With somebody seeing all this skinny as succulent and sister at the same time. Without having to pretend I am anything less than deep rooted. Without having to peel back this skin for you. I am not here for the non-believers. I am not here for those who cringe when they see me seeing all of myself. This bodily prayer is strictly between my sight and the sun and all the good folk who enter the presence of this church with no other words on their tongue but amen.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, Alicia Wise.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to thank everybody that's hit the mic today. I'd like to thank Mike Stark back there, holding it down in every conceivable way and making it possible for us to come here and do this radio show and be connected to all the people who will listen to it, and also to be connected to all the, if you sit in a radio studio, it's kind of, I don't know if it's artificial, it's kind of like an artificial environment. I mean, where else would you have this kind of environment? In your house. But my point being that you can easily lose sight of what we're doing here, which is, while we're doing this, people in Afghanistan, in Camden, in China, in Bolivia, in Greece, you name it, are doing the same thing, in their own way, with their own particular flavor, as it should be. And that's what we're part of. It is a big thing, but the size is not so much as important as the direction. And the direction is really good. So it's good to be part of it again this year. And onward. Thank you.